Well, well, well. Look who just forced the giants to blink. You didn't swing a sword. You didn't raise your voice. You simply walked in, and the air changed. They felt it first. The ones who once moved like gods now hesitate before taking a single breath. Their laughter stumbles. Their rhythm fractures. Their certainty trembles. Because power, real power, isn't loud. It's silent. And your silence just rearranged the hierarchy. You didn't demand respect. You created discomfort. You didn't beg for validation. You became the variable no one calculated. Every empire has a moment of distortion, when control slips through confident fingers. That moment is you. You see, power is fragile when it forgets what fear feels like. And tonight, fear just remembered your name. They thought you'd break. They thought your silence meant surrender. But silence isn't weakness. It's the sound of a mind loading the next strike. You didn't shout. You shifted gravity. You didn't threaten. You became the consequence. Now, they whisper your name like a secret they can't contain. They study your stillness, terrified of what it might mean. Because sometimes, all it takes to shift an empire is your silence. They thought they had you figured out. Every reaction, every weakness, every line you'd never cross. They built maps of your emotions, like cartographers of your pain. They believed your fire was easy to contain. They wrote your ending before your story even began. Because arrogance does that. It turns certainty into blindness. They called you harmless because you hesitated. They called you weak because you cared. And they mistook your silence for surrender. They studied your fire, not realizing you had already turned to smoke, unseen, ungraspable, everywhere. They thought you'd rage when betrayed, beg when cornered, break when isolated. But you didn't. You watched. You waited. You let them script their own downfall while believing it was yours. They played generals in a war you'd already transcended. You weren't on the battlefield. You were rewriting the terrain. Every lie they told became their own evidence. Every insult, a line in their confession. And when they looked back to measure the damage, you weren't where they left you. You had vanished from their narrative and appeared inside their nightmares. Their confidence cracked. Their control slipped. They realized you had no pattern to trace, no formula to follow. You weren't playing the same game anymore. And that's when it hit them. You were never their predictable opponent. You were the unforeseen variable, the flaw in their equation, the storm they didn't schedule. Because in the end, they didn't fear your strength. They feared your unpredictability. You didn't collapse. You calculated. While they were celebrating your downfall, you were taking notes. While they whispered, behind closed doors, you were memorizing the rhythm of their deceit. They thought they were breaking you. You were documenting them. Pain became your classroom. Silence became your textbook. And betrayal? That was the teacher who never stopped talking. Every insult became evidence. Every humiliation, a case study. You dissected every lie until it confessed the truth behind it. You didn't heal. You evolved into observation. Because healing forgives. Observation remembers. They thought they were inflicting wounds, but you were building blueprints, mapping the anatomy of manipulation, studying how arrogance decays into fear. You learned how power really operates, how it trembles when exposed, how it hides behind charm, how it bleeds when ignored. You didn't lash out. You logged data. You didn't scream. You strategized. You built an archive of silence so vast it could bury empires. And when they laughed, you let them. Because laughter, too, has a pattern. And you were learning it by heart. While they played checkers with lies, you learned the patterns of kings. You mastered the art of patience, the cruel, beautiful kind that waits for justice to arrive in disguise. And when the day came, you didn't have to expose them. Their own behavior did it for you. Because you didn't just survive the betrayal. You reverse engineered it. It started quietly. No explosion, no warning. Just stillness. Their plans began to falter in places they couldn't explain. Their meetings ran longer. Their texts got shorter. Their smiles didn't reach their eyes anymore. And somewhere in that silence, they felt it. The shift. You stopped chasing explanations. You stopped defending yourself. You became the ghost in their equation, the one variable their arrogance forgot to measure. You, the ignored one, became the algorithm that crashed their empire. They used to talk about you like a memory. Now they whisper your name like a problem they can't solve. You can almost hear it, the tension behind those corporate doors, the subtle panic in their tones, the frantic tapping of keyboards as they try to trace the failure back to you. But you left no fingerprints. You left only outcomes. Every system they built to contain you now glitches at your presence. Every lie they circulated collapses under its own weight. And the empire they built on your silence, it's shaking. Because silence doesn't mean gone. It means gathering. They thought you were predictable. Now they see how wrong they were. Their strategies crumble because you no longer play by their logic. You became the logic. You rewrote the rules they tried to bury you under. Now their pride turns to paranoia. Their plans turn to dust. Their certainty turns to fear. And as the storm brews, you stand in the center, unshaken, because you were never the threat. You became the consequence. Your name's in their group chats now. Not in envy, but in fear. They speak softer when they mention you. They measure every word like it's an explosive waiting to go off. Because once upon a time, they mocked your silence. Now, it's the silence that haunts them. They used to analyze your mistakes. Now, they analyze your restraint. They call it growth. You call it evolution. Funny, isn't it? How the same people who once tried to outsmart you now rewrite their entire playbook because of you. They study your every move, like students afraid to fail the very test they designed. You didn't have to destroy them. You made them reprogram themselves. You became the mirror they can't look away from, a reflection of everything they pretended not to be. Their arrogance was loud. Yours is quiet, surgical, precise, deliberate. You didn't need revenge. You became relevance, and that's what terrifies them most. Because now, they see it. The power they thought was temporary has become permanent. The lesson they meant to teach became the curse they live by. They can't undo what you've become, and they can't forget who made them feel it. You stopped chasing closure. You started becoming it. Their fear is your silence, echoing back through the corridors of their guilt. Their regret is your legacy, written in invisible ink across their pride. They thought they were teaching you pain. You taught them consequences. You didn't scream for revenge. You simply became a storm they couldn't predict. While they looked for thunder, you moved like lightning. Unseen, precise, inevitable. You didn't need to shout your dominance. Your silence delivered the verdict for you. Case closed. Evidence recorded. Verdict delivered. Silence wins. They thought power was noise. They thought control was fear. But real power is awareness. It's walking into a room and watching arrogance rewrite itself in your presence. You didn't break their system. You rewired it. You turned their certainty into hesitation, their pride into caution, their comfort into calculation. Now, when they plan around you. When they speak, they pause for you. When they dream, they edit your name out, afraid it might turn prophetic. You see, vengeance isn't about destruction. It's about revelation. It's about watching the untouchables realize they were never gods, just mortals playing Monopoly with borrowed crowns. You changed the game. You became the rule book. And now, every move they make carries your fingerprints. Because you didn't just make a powerful person rethink their strategy. You reminded them that power without awareness is a suicide note.